Many engineers think when they get into the field, they will create the most updated services, libraries, use the newest languages, and start a brand new project. Well, the problem is, this isn't always the case. Realistically, besides startups, you will modify existing code bases, adding on to some functionality, but at the same time, you can't change what already works, no matter how much you want to refactor. So I think a realistic example for an AI agent is to have an existing code base and have it either modify or add on to what's already there. I'm going to be using AutoGen, which is a multi-agent framework, meaning we can use more than one agent to fix a problem. It will be able to list directories, look at files, modify a file, and then also create a new file if needed. Okay, what I have here is a main Python file that's set up to run AutoGen. It's going to have a default path for the backend directory where we have a sample code located here called main.py as well. Once we set up all the configurations, I basically just created an engineer agent and a user proxy agent. Okay, these are simple agents, but the real key to this is all the tools that we have created. So we have one to list the directories, one to see the files in that directory, and one to modify the code and also create files with code if we need to. Okay, so there are 4 tools here. Now, when we go to initiate the chat with these AI agents, we just want them to improve the app and fast API. For now, just check all the files, try to understand it, and wait for the next instructions, which I will give. Okay, so the first thing I did was look for the tool list directory. So we have all the directories. Now what I want to do is modify this code, this API request first inside of the backend directory. So now what I want to do is edit the fetch to do to instead retrieve all to dos and return the first 5. Then what I did is use the tool C file, retrieved the main.python file. I come down here a little bit and the response is this is the tool called C file. So it's looking at everything inside of that file. Then we come down here, we next have the modify code tool was starting at line 7 and ending at line 12. So if I bring this down here a little bit, you can see it's basically editing this whole request. It's going to fix it. And if we scroll to the right a little bit, I can see that instead of just getting one to do, it's getting all of them. And it's going to return in shorthand the first 5. Since I'm good with that, I'm just going to press enter. And then from the tool call, it modified the code. Now, if I look at the code again, you can see it changed the URL and is returning the first 5. Now what I want to do is return all of the users. Now I need another API call to return all of the users. So it knows that we're still looking at the same file. It's going to create one called fetch users. I'm not going to actually look through all that. I'm just going to assume that this is correct. So let me press enter and then we'll see if it's created. Now you can see that it said file created successfully. Okay, so what happened was actually deleted the original one. So I asked it to restore the original and also add the fetch users, and it did here. So if we open up this main.py file that you see, it did it. We still have the fetch to do, and now we also have fetch users. Well, now let's say I want to deploy this. Well, guess what? It's not going to work because I don't have new line test coverage. Now let's ask it to create tests for these new API calls in a different file. So we want to create test cases for each of these API calls. So it's going to create a new file called test main.py and then has all the code for it. So let's just hit enter. File created successfully. So file created successfully. And it says that it created test case for each of them. And here it is, test underscore main.py. So it created for the fetch to do and the fetch users. And this is a more realistic way of how we would want an AI agent act as a software engineer for us. If you enjoyed that video and you're curious about AutoGen, I have 2 different courses right here. And this one is a beginner course that will introduce you to everything you need to know about AutoGen. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.